I'm going to try this for step number 2. The first time that I videotaped this, I videotaped it all the way through, only to realize at the end that my hand was over the microphone. So I'm learning bits and pieces every single day on this phone or whatever else I'm using. So here it goes. The reason I'm on here today is not just to show my face, but hi anyway. Look, what I wanted to bring to the table was that I've noticed of lately that a lot of us are starting to judge and shame each other a little bit ruthlessly, whether it's over COVID, we get a juxtaposition view of what is wrong or right, what is truth and lies. So we've got the people that believe in pro-vaccination, we're the people that believe in anti-vaccination, and then there's the people that sit somewhere in the middle of, I'm a bit concerned about this, I'm a bit concerned about not getting it done, I'm concerned about getting it done, here is why. And look, I can feel empathy for all those sides because it's not an easy decision to make. And then I wanted to bridge it across to other things. So the reason I'm doing that is because there's been a lot of talk about body shaming and facial shaming. And what I'm getting to with that is things to do with like somebody being too much or not enough in our activities. So examples of what I've heard is, she shouldn't be wearing that. Look at her, she's too fat. Or she's dressed like a slut. Or he's like a sapling. Like, what does he think? He should be going to the gym and buffing up. And there's a real arrogance in it. But that arrogance is not a deep-seated arrogance from the people that say it. I believe that it's actually an insecurity of theirs and they're projecting it onto other people. So I said it years and years ago, and it's been my mantra for at least 30 years, where I've said hurt people hurt others. I've said it like from late teenager. And where I got it from was from observing people that when they've got unresolved issues, and we all do to varying degrees, then we tend to project that on other people. Like, for an example, if we've been conditioned to believe that it is inappropriate for us women to wear a skirt that is above our knees, we will be fearful of wearing it because we feel that we might be judged. And, someone who wears that, if we were told, well, someone who wears that is nothing but a slut, then we feel like we're a good for nothing that has kind of brought in that kind of element in society when things go wrong, or if somebody physically hurts us or is a bit predatory sexually speaking or whatever. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but the reason why I'm raising that is because it can be the same across the board. So we could have been raised with, don't you think that you've had enough, my dear? When you're going for a second helping of food and you're thinking, no, not really, I'm still hungry, but okay, I guess so, shouldn't eat. And then what does that lead to, guys? Of course, we all know it. Then later on, that person goes off to the freezer and they take a tub of ice cream, or they're trying to chortle down a bunch of carrots and zucchinis and cucumbers and everything, and they manage to do that for the first day or for the first week or whatever, and then they usually come back to all this binge eating, or otherwise they might do it after they're full, right? So this is coming from me, who's had body dysmorphia for, I wouldn't say all my life, but certainly a very, very large portion. So I went from being medium weight, although I always felt like I was larger than medium, to going disproportionately thin, which I always felt like was still larger, to going to very, very dangerously thin, but in between I also went pretty large. And I've never been able to this day, to be able to gauge my weight. Now, some could blame that on the fact I did modeling for a while, because they do tend to put the onus on you in terms of size, amongst other things, but it wasn't. For me and for many other women and men over the years, I find that it's because of underlying issues, and it has more to do, at least in anorexia, it has more to do with control. When you've lost control or your footing in other areas, to be able to change things in your life. And for obesity or for overweightness, it's usually layers to protect you from other stuff. So whether it's so that you no longer look sexual to other people, to whether it might be like putting layers of softness around you. You know, if you think of it like that, it's usually that there is underlying issues, and I doubt very much it has much to do with metabolism as much as what it does to just personally not feeling comfortable in your skin and not feeling like you're enough. And the more that one feels like you're not enough, as you and I, we all know, that therein goes the merry-go-round where you continually feel like you're not enough, and then you act out in ways that kind of that support that belief, even though it's not a conducive belief. Now, in other areas, we can be insecure about ourselves or about others. So as I said to you before, I'm still hinging with you would put or project that on another person because you yourself, or me, myself, are not feeling so comfortable within ourselves as to ever let our get ourselves like that. So when we're saying, when a guy's looking at another guy and he's going, oh, he's a weakling, a sapling, he needs to buff up, beef up, whatever, he's really saying that as a motivating force very often for himself, to get himself to stick in the gym and to buff up, beef up, look the part, be the real man. But not necessarily quite that far, but you get what I'm saying, yeah? And so we constantly get that not enough. We're always too much, too little, too sensitive, too this, too that, but never quite enough. It's a continual journey and not a consistent one. We always feel like we need to get to that end point before we are personally advocated as being okay. We're never okay until we hit that sweet spot, yeah? But that's actually not true, because it's a never-ending road to get to that point. And you never stay there very long, you know, because then when you're counting weight, you're like, put on a kilo this week, you know, like, oh, naughty, shame, blah, blah, blah. Quick, get rid of all this stuff that's eradicating, or we'll go on a binge and eat it all up so it's not a temptation to shopping tomorrow, you know, or quick, we better go to the gym and do twice as much work and then exhaust ourselves and not want to do the gym next week. Or we just will not eat. We'll have to take a box of laxatives to get us back to that point, or whatever it is, you know, it's still that awful shaming that we put on ourselves. And then when we don't have it resolved within ourselves, we do it to others. I've done it too. I have. And I'm sure somewhere underneath it that some people realize that. You know, I think they knew that I was uncomfortable of them. And I remember, like, every now and then I would be in a relationship and the guy would think that I was feeling insecure about the woman because he thought that I would be jealous of her. Hell no. I wasn't jealous that he was going to go with that chick. I was actually thinking to myself more along the lines of, how can I be like that? Or, you know, she's doing so well, I'd really like to be like that. Or she looks so fine, like, what's she doing? And feeling quite, you know, never ever amounting to enough in my own heart. So that was an inside job that I had to work on doing, and now I think I've got it down pat. The other thing, we're still working on it, the other thing is also someone who's had work done. So say if they've had Botox, or they've had, I think it's fat that they put inside their bums to make them look like Kim Kardashians of the world. Now, personally, it might not be the look that I want. In fact, I can tell you it's not. I don't really want that look at all. However, it's not about me, and it's not about whether I actually feel like it looks good. For that person, it's about what they choose for their own bodies. And they're very often, guys, they're not doing it for you. They're doing it for them. They're doing it because they've seen somebody who they think looks good, and they go, wow, you know what? I like to look a bit like that. I've always felt very insecure about my bum. Like me, I don't have a bum. Sorry, but I don't have a bum. Anyone that's telling me that I've got a nice butt, you guys are so lying, because I am not got a butt. I've got no butt. And I don't have a voluptuous figure, okay? I feel sometimes my chagrin is that I feel more like I've got a boy's body, right? It's not really like, you know, really voluptuous. And when I was 10 or 11 years old, there was a boy I met in a very different country who was a very beautiful soul. His name was Mark, and he was emancipated. He was very, very underweight. He was anorexic. And at that tender age, I mean, he was a few years older, but he was not eating and he practiced no self-care for his own myriad of reasons. And I remember trying to spend time with him, even though I didn't understand the disease. I spent a lot of time with him trying to nurture and encourage him and feed him full of positive words and positive love and just trying to be a friend, basically. And then I remember when I got to Australia, I met up with all these girls that were on the other end of the scale at school, where they were very overweight and they were uncomfortable about it, and they carried themselves in a way that was quite shame, and they would judge other girls. They would say, oh, look at her, she's a slut. She's dressed like a slut. She's showing too much. Now, if those girls had dressed up with a boob tube top and, you know, had been showing a lot of cleavage, they would have been shown a lot more, right? So the boys would have noticed them a lot more. They would have gotten that reputation a bit more. They would have been shamed. Their parents probably would have shamed, whatever the circumstances. So because of that, they never made allowances for themselves to dress that way. So they would shame others, right? And that's the way that we work in society, you know. It's like a majority rule and the tall poppy syndrome. Somebody feels good in Australia, quick, let's knock them down, rip them to shreds, make them feel like shite. And then we've got a chance at maybe being a little bit better. It doesn't work like that. Let's just hold each other up in a space of love, unconditional love. Let's not judge each other. We all struggle to varying degrees over different things. We all have our own stories, our own perceptions, and our own truths. So even if mine doesn't hold true for you, I hope, I ask, and I pray and invite you to please find a different way that doesn't involve hurting others just because of your perception about whether they should have Botox or bum things or whatever else they do, their faces or facelifts, or whether they should lose weight or gain weight or not wear that tanning spray or not get those nails done or not go to the gym or ease down on it or let's just love each other from deep within. You can have all those things going for you. I can have all those things going for me. Now let's leave me out of the equation. You can have everything going for you because I've still got my own insecurities. But you could tick all those boxes. You know, you could be like 6 foot wide, full of muscle. But you might have toothpick legs, all right? There's going to be someone who's going to be thinking that you should be really doing something about that, right? And usually somewhere in there, it's most probably you. So let's find a way to practice some self-care to get back and connect with the essential selves. Take deep breaths in of everything that's good. Seriously. Every breath in, to pull it in, draw it into your lungs and into all of your body of everything that feels good. A new chapter, a new breath. No more promises, just new, fresh energy. And breathe in some self-love. And let go of all the bullshit. Seriously. We can only start with ourselves and practice self-love, and then it'll emanate through. And you and I both know that there are people who can look drop-dead, flawlessly gorgeous, but unless we've got something going on in our souls to be back in our bodies where it should be, in our hearts to be emotionally connected, we are really nothing at all. Love. Just love.